You over here with the ball, that's what you do. What are you doing now? You bought a bunch of tickets for the staff. Yeah, I know. I'm getting that part. You bought a whole bunch for them. 50. Filling them out for them. Okay. You'll see what I'm gonna do here shortly.
So, it's 11 o'clock.
It's a competition, man, now.
We'll call the meeting of the Board of Commissioners, Finance and Administration Committee to order. Call it the public. Familiar faces out there. Anybody online?
There's not at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Well, we'll have another opportunity later then. We're gonna move right on to the agenda. Business items, and the first one is number 4, considering approving the memorandum of understanding between Isabella County and Central Michigan University for document storage and authorize the board chair to sign the same. Well, looks like we have a very nice university that wants to help us out in our current issues.
In our time of need.
Exactly. I think a lot of community partners stepped up in that regard, and it just so happens CMU has the resources to store some documents. They have these great totes that things can get stored in,
Oh,
and they stack
wow.
so well, and they're not charging us for the storage.
Mhm.
It's presumed that we don't have to regularly access the items, but there is a plan in place and a process if we do need to access them. It will be, our manpower that it was our manpower that got the documents there. It'll be our manpower that removes the documents when it's time and give the totes back to CMU. But really this, as you can see, it was entered into or signed by CMU already, just in the move out from the county building. It was necessary to get the documents there, right? Our documents are already there. I think they're all registered deeds documents.
Microphone,
Nice.
microfiche, books.
It's open-ended, right?
Yes, I think it's presumed to be a year, but it is open-ended, as long as our need is there, but the presumption is that it will be approximately a year. So we'll be taking possession of those back when we go back into the county building. But this is at no cost. They had us where they wanted us, but they certainly didn't try to charge us. So I appreciate that.
Thank you to CMU.
Great partner, good
Nice.
resources.
Well, thank you.
So it looks like a win-win for everybody here at the county. And as we have these opportunities, I don't know if there's anything special with a thank you letter signed by the commissioners
Yes.
Yeah.
for that.
I like
It might
that
be
idea.
nice to,
Agreed.
Yes, we will get that drafted. Great idea.
okay. I will make the motion to consider approving the memorandum of understanding between Isabella County and Central Michigan University for document storage to bring this up at the work session next Tuesday.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All the same sign, it moves forward. I don't know if this would be a good time to just mention, we're talking about the work session next week.
Yes.
To indicate that we're going to, at the request of the chairman of the Board of Commissioners, reschedule the work session for 4 o'clock and the regular meeting at 5:30 next week.
I think we are just waiting to hear back from Clerk Lux to make sure she's available, or one of her deputies that could take the minutes. So, once we confirm that, we'll post the
Post it
new
then.
rescheduled time.
This is to allow some time for the commissioners to get together after for a Christmas dinner together.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that.
Oh, so that means Frank's gonna come too.
The next item is discussion regarding the appropriation of the balance of the American Rescue Plan ARPA funds for the county administration building HVAC replacement and associated abatement activities necessary to complete the HVAC replacement.
Okay, so I'm handing out a new worksheet Melissa put together. Thank you, Melissa.
Don't give me
to
that.
look at what we've got left for our ARPA dollars. And the reason that I'm bringing this forward to you now, as you know, the ARPA dollars have to be, according to the act, obligated by December 31st of next year, 2024. So seemingly no hurry, but recently, as we were working to satisfy the requirements to receive our county revenue sharing, we supply information through what's called the County Incentive Program in order to receive our revenue sharing dollars, about $1.6 million in fiscal 24. And we have to do a budget projection, we have to do a debt service report. In years past, we used to do what was called a citizen's guide and a performance dashboard. The state has since taken those requirements away, so now we just have to do the debt service report and the projected budget. Those were due last week and those have been submitted. We'll receive our full revenue sharing. You know, this year, the state said, here's an extra 2% revenue sharing, about $30,000-ish for us. You have to use this for public safety, right? It has to, and it can go to capital improvements, public safety buildings. So we're thinking maybe that 2% to push it towards the correctional facility construction fund. Right? Got a few found pennies, let's move them there. But one thing we weren't aware of is that the state says, here's an additional 1%. So again, it's only about $16,000, but it's on the table if we fully obligate our ARPA funds by the end of this year.
2023.
Yes. So there's a little bit of money on the table and I sit there and I think, well, we don't want to rush that. But at the same time, if we believe that if we're saving the balance of our ARPA dollars for the HVAC replacement at the county building, that's a direct use of ARPA dollars that we can use ARPA dollars for HVAC work. And the professionals are telling us if we have to abate asbestos in the building in order to do the HVAC work, then that's covered by ARPA dollars too. From what I just handed out to you, you can see we've got just shy of $2 million of ARPA remaining that we haven't already obligated. Sorry, I have a tremendous tickle in my throat. I can't get rid of it. So I guess one, we need to decide, is it the plan to obligate the balance of our ARPA dollars to that project? I feel like we need to. Our abatement is going to cost over 1.2 million. We don't know what the rebuilding is going to cost yet. We don't know what the HVAC is going to cost yet. But we have just under $2 million remaining in ARPA that we could use towards those things.
Mhm. As far as other funds available to,
Fund balance at this
that's
time.
all, yeah, so it's either or, and
We did talk, I mean, there's little bright spots. Our property and risk management company, MMRMA, was here this morning. And we did talk to them about, they've got RAP grants. They're called Risk Avoidance Program grants.
Mhm.
And so they cost share on certain things that are good to implement that would reduce our risk, like a new building security system that we're gonna have to put in the county building. I think they fund, I think it's 50% up to $150,000. So it's not a lot, but here's $150,000. We're gonna be putting in a new security system.
take advantage.
So there's things like that we can take advantage of, but certainly no other pots of money, no other insurance coverages, right? Or ARPA is.
I'm thinking it only makes sense to move ahead with the HVAC. We're gonna be spending dollars on that building, whether we like it or not. And it would seem very foolish not to go ahead and take care of a problem that we've known for a while that we have to resolve. So I don't think we can move that to anything else and do everything and leave that out.
Can't kick
of
it
the
down the
mix.
road, right?
So it just makes sense to do it.
Mhm. Yeah, and use the ARPA money.
So from there, we're using fund balance until we identify those other revenues that might be available.
Now, we did talk about maybe pulling back some of the dollars that we were going to allocate to other reasons. And I see they're still on the list here, such as the 250,000 for the Coldwater Lake Sewer Project. I don't know that you've had a chance to talk to the treasurer on the $200,000 for the foreclosure prevention, if that's still something that's important. We are gonna move ahead with the hearing room upgrades in the trial court. The energy audit, we've spent those dollars, so
Yeah, really, I think you nailed it. The up for question, I suppose, is the Coldwater Lake Family Park Sewer Project at 250,000 and foreclosure prevention at 200,000. Now, I know the parks would use that whole 250,000, and it has been approved by the committee to do so, but I don't. Yeah, the 250,000 was approved by the board in last year's budget.
Yeah.
So it would be really reversing that. I know they still have the need for it. Foreclosure prevention, I did reach out and ask Treasurer Pickens to be here this morning, to talk about that. I feel like to this end, I'm not sure how much we've spent. Steve, do you know that number? I'm thinking it's under 10,000. That's been spent so far. So I don't know if you presume to say you need 10,000, going forward. You can do this for, until December 31st, 2026. So it's really a projection of how much you might need until then. I think it's considered obligated because the board will say, that's what it's for, but whatever you say you need has to be spent for that purpose by December 31st, 2026. So I don't know if you're still thinking the whole 200,000.
Well, the thing it is with foreclosures, it's 3 years in arrears.
Right.
Okay, so, you could do 20 and 21s, so the projection on it is gonna get bigger, I imagine. Is there some leeway to, give up some money? Yes. I wanna make sure it goes towards COVID stuff. Jail. That's not my say so, in there. Have we done the consideration of the interest and stuff that we earned in your projections?
No, we don't have any interest from ARPA built into the balance, do we?
Like the interest that we've earned so far in these? No.
Just what we were, the 13.571 we were allocated.
I have no problem with continuing the $200,000 if it's gonna be used, but I know that there's one date it has to be spent by, but there's another date it has to be allocated. So if we go beyond that allocation date and then it doesn't get spent, we just lose it.
I feel like that's our only recourse at that point. Yeah, because if you go past December 31st of 2024, the period to obligate is passed. So if you've obligated it to a purpose that you're not using, then yes, I believe you would lose the opportunity to use it.
Well, I don't want to lose any dollars. I mean, I don't want the county to lose any of their dollars for that because I think we can use it. The advertisement and stuff on the COVID stuff we made it pretty strict and we didn't, because it has to be COVID related,
Right.
the way I see it.
Right.
That, the qualifications for it, we never really, hit a lot of people last year. If we advertise and stuff, I'm sure we're gonna have a whole lot more and I could probably do more than the 200,000 on it because everybody would have a COVID. The key thing that you gotta remember also is that when people pay their taxes, it's taking it from one pocket and put it in the other for the county. So if you're using the COVID funds to pay for the foreclosures, it's coming back into the county. The payments are coming back in the county. It's not like you're using it and they're spending it and the money's going elsewhere.
Right.
So it's kind of a, Jerry would say, a win-win situation there. So,
Right.
but yeah, we can, digress the 200,000. You want to make it smaller, make it smaller.
Well, that particular piece of the ARPA pie, we have, you said until October of next year to allocate? Or-
Well, We have by the American Rescue Plan Act, per the act, we have until December 31st of 2024 to obligate. And
So,
December 31st of 2026 to spend. There's a little carrot or an additional enticement of about $16,000 on the table. If you obligate at your meeting Tuesday, basically, obligate the balance. You've already obligated the 200,000 to this purpose.
Yeah.
It's just that fear of, all I'm looking at is, uh-oh, we've only spent this much. Are we gonna spend the 200,000 in the next couple of years? If Treasurer Pickens says yes, because, the COVID is necessary to use COVID as the underlying reason, right? And he's just coming into these years where COVID really impacted
Yeah, see,
those.
that's kind of.
So what he's saying
That's
is,
what I'm
the
concerned
need is
about.
probably going
Yeah,
to
it's gonna
increase.
increase.
Did we take it out of the 3 million side or the 10 million side? Did we obligate it
3,
The
Out of the 3 million
3
side.
million side.
out of the 3 million
Direct,
side?
yeah, it's a direct
Can-
COVID.
Okay,
In what we're asking the board to obligate the remaining funds for is the HVAC project and forget how we worded it, the county administration building HVAC replacement and the associated abatement activities necessary to complete HVAC replacement. That means we can use direct dollars because HVAC was one of those direct things we can, so regardless of what pot the balance of the monies are in, we can use them towards the HVAC project.
and you,
That's what this-
are you sure on the cost of the HV?
We have no idea what I know when we bid it out last year, the HVAC, now that was a little more robust, right? We were doing the VAV boxes, right? We were doing occupancy sensors and all that stuff. So it was bells and whistles. That was 2.3 million, I think.
I think on your last budget, what'd you have in there?
2.4.
0.4. Okay.
2.4 that you had.
And that was
Side.
for a robust HVAC replacement with the building still intact, right? So
But now
we're-
there's
we're
additional
hope-
cost.
Yes, additional cost, but I think the HVAC might cost a little less because they don't have. I mean, they've got open space to work in now, right? Instead of having to crawl up in a ceiling to do work, there's no ceiling. So we're hoping that maybe the HVAC work will be a little less costly and we're not going the
But also
whole.
replacing
Replacing
all
all
of that
all
work
of
and
that
stuff.
work and stuff. So it Might be a wash.
Well, so yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
throwing out the obligation of not knowing the HVAC, and me not knowing the other.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm almost for the.
It could wash each other's. If mine went over, then I'm not sure that you're gonna pay for it, but you don't know the cost of the HVAC. You could, we have a year to reobligate.
Yeah,
Mhm.
see, that's
Any
kind of
excess money
as
in the-
opposed to right now.
And I
I'm not
suppose-
comfortable right now.
if at the worst, at the very worst, we'd have to give the 1% back to the state. If we had to reobligate, right? But might be worth it because there might be $100,000 on the table. So I suppose that would be the worst thing.
Well,
If we
but
took.
if you're gonna obligate it, how does the obligation go? I guess I need to ask him.
So,
If you say it's going to the county treasurers for foreclosure abatement or stopping, then all those dollars have to be done there?
yes,
Okay,
my understanding. They're basically, the board would be appropriating those funds for a specific purpose. And right now they've said 200,000 for foreclosure prevention. So unless they were to obligate that to something else, then yes, I believe that whole
If-
200,000 is for that.
if your HVAC comes in more costly, is it gonna be possibility of more costly than 15% or 15,000?
Well, we could do,
That's on the
yeah,
table.
absolutely,
Well, that's
yes.
on the table
Yeah,
right now for you to
absolutely.
save, supposedly.
Absolutely.
Worth it.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
so we're talking about 15,000, which is a good deal of money in my book,
Mhm.
but,
that's why we're talking about it,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Mhm.
and once we pull the plug on that this year to save for the bonus or whatever,
Mhm.
we're set forever on these funds.
Yes,
So if the HVAC comes in short, we have to find other obligations for it.
yes, but it's HVAC and associated abatement activities. We have to do all of the abatement in order to do the HVAC. The abatement's about 1.2 million, 1.3 million. So I really think we're not gonna have a problem reaching 2 million of the remaining ARPA dollars
And I don't think,
for the HVAC and abatement.
I'm thinking that when we take a look at the end product for HVAC, we're gonna probably rerouting some of that to balance the air exchange in the building. That's gonna be significant. I don't know if we can even use some of the engineering costs related.
Oh, I would think so. You gotta engineer it. in
It's gonna
order
go
to
up from
replace it.
what we budgeted. I have no
I-
doubt.
Yeah, see, that's what my thing is.
I'd be willing to give up, $100,000 out of the two, or,
And you're feeling, you're feeling
Well, I'm
okay
sure
about
I
it.
could-
I don't.
I could
we're
probably
not trying to
advertise it
twist your arm.
I know,
We're asking
No, that's
for
it.
your
I don't want you to feel pressured.
well, I
Not
can
at all.
obligate it, I know, but you gotta understand, we're also getting interest on, there's 95,000
Yeah.
coming due, which
That's-
raises me to another question on. I need a cash flow analysis. I need to know what's out there so that. I mean, they're coming due today, tomorrow, the next day, and we want to know how far to put them out there. We don't know
How
what the spending
far do we
pattern's gonna
invest
be.
them?
Yeah,
Well,
because we get
obligations
different
are
rates
become
and all
due.
that. Yeah, we don't want to tie it up and not have
I
the
have the
funds
funds. Yeah.
to do it. So,
Yeah.
if we could get a thing that says, hey, we had 13 million. And here's what we've obligated, here's what we spent it on, part of the 3 and
It's on your left right there.
part of the 10.
That's on your left right there.
Mhm.
Ah, that's kind of funny.
And now the second part of this is when we're gonna spend
The balance.
the balance of it.
Ah,
Yeah.
We can do a cash flow. Yeah, we can
Okay,
absolutely. do a
'cause I
cash
don't
flow.
know your Clark construction stuff.
And I'm
things.
sure our abatement contractors will know what
Yeah,
what
so
their,
that's the next thing.
they
What they
bid
need.
out the 1.2, 1.3. They're gonna know what the curve looks like to spend that, so.
Okay.
In their timetable,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Mhm.
Go get that information.
So what we have left is,
The 1.9,
Bottom.
1.969885. Now that's with 200,000 going towards the foreclosure prevention, so if we do add that, obviously we're up at,
so that's 1.9 of the 3 million,
Mhm.
correct.
and the 8.7 is. What of the 10 million do we have left?
That was obligated, fully obligated. Do you see public safety payroll of 8.6 and then the 100,000 for the phone system that was spent last year in fiscal 23?
So 9.6.
Well, and then the 22, we did the roof for almost 250,000, the server, and then in 21, the very first thing we did with it was cover about just over $1 million of public safety payroll, so that does account for the 10 of lost revenue that we've recognized. I think the only dollars we haven't recognized is the balance of that, just under 2 million. And if we add 100,000 from foreclosure prevention, it'll be just over 2 million.
Okay.
Thank you very much for bringing this information.
Appreciate it, sir.
Gotta feed me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I came up here.
It's a bait pile, yes.
I invited him up, he didn't come up, and then he saw the.
So I think we should talk about parks too, and if the board has already obligated the 250,000. I know Parks is counting on that in their budget for the sewer system. So I think it's what's your flavor I haven't talked to her about clawing that back. I could certainly,
I went to a meeting
Yeah.
yesterday.
Mhm.
Commissioner Hutchinson, Health Department,
that's right.
and Pete
And now what?
Preston, about the sewer system in Coldwater. We need to talk about the monies that she has available. Right now, she has the funding. If it stays as it is, has the funding to cover her portion. If what Pete Townsend or Pete Preston is telling her about the cost is going to be assessed to Coldwater Lake.
Lorenz.
Pete Lorenz, I mean.
Okay.
Assessed to Coldwater Lake. So she has the funding for that if this stays the same. Now, if we pull that back, she's not gonna have the necessary funding to.
I know she just got I think it was $50,000 from the tribe, and that's
Yes.
part of that budget,
Yes.
needed and necessary,
Right.
so I think it's something that the
She's-
board needs to consider. I feel like we looked at the foreclosure prevention program because
Mhm,
we wondered if the need was still there. So
mhm.
with Coldwater Lake, I don't think we wonder if the need is still there.
I
They need the funds.
believe that they do.
And the
at this
fact that
point.
the tribe has contributed to the project, it doesn't seem, we want to maintain a good relationship and
Right,
we don't want to
that's
be
not a
saying,
good,
okay,
that's not
we
a good
gave, so we're
optic.
pulling back.
Sure. I will say Alexis did come to the ARPA work group committee. It
Mhm,
might have been Miranda at the time. And requested an additional $100,000.
mhm,
So it'd be a total of 350,000. And that has not gone forward to the
mhm.
board yet. That has not been obligated or considered by the board.
Mm.
So I just want to make sure you're not thinking that it was that obligation we're talking about.
No,
This is the original
this is the
obligation,
original.
not the additional.
Correct.
So the savings then in the foreclosure prevention transfer of funds back, would that just be added to the HVAC then?
Yes, and so that means we would have, $2,069,885
Mhm.
committed towards that HVAC replacement and associated abatement activities necessary to complete it. And I think if the board takes that action Tuesday, that is you appropriating the funds for that specific purpose, and we would be able to qualify for that extra 1%. It's on the table. And it was worth throwing this on the agenda and having this conversation, even if it makes us late to the holiday party. Right? It's worth the conversation.
Mhm.
The information is due to the state March 30th of next year, to secure that extra 1%. So by action next Tuesday, and then we'll have eventually a month later, we'll have the approved minutes. I'm sure that's the type of documentation that we'll submit.
Any further discussion or questions related? Would you like to make the motion?
Sure. Move to consider approving the fiscal year 2024 budget amendment number 2024-03, first quarter budget amendment.
Would it be discussion regarding the,
I checked the
Number-
wrong one.
Yes.
Hang on, my bad. So I move to take discussion of the appropriation of the balance of American Rescue Plan Act ARPA funds for the county administration building HVAC replacement and the associated abatement activities necessary to complete the HVAC replacement to our regular board session.
I will second that motion. It's been moved and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. It moves forward. Next item, consider approving fiscal year 2024 budget amendment number 2024-03. First quarter budget adjustments for general fund and authorize the board chair to sign the same.
Okay, so if you remember last year, I think we didn't do first quarter budget adjustments because it was just too early to know how things were going to settle out. But we do know of some things already in general fund that we wanted to bring forward. We do not have a first quarter budget adjustment for other funds. Usually we bring those together, but there just really wasn't the need at this point. So really, there's two things going on with this budget amendment. The top line shows a decrease in general fund balance of almost $73,000, and that correlates down below to that last expense you see that's increasing. You remember the conversation we had, the county drain at large appropriation that we pay for the county's portion of all the drain projects.
Mhm.
At budget time, help me out, Melissa, we budgeted 340,000. I think 340, 350. And then if you recall a couple meetings ago, Drain Commissioner Willoughby was here and noted, with his year-end drain assessments, here's the county drain at large, and it's $73,000 more than we budgeted. So it's interesting to me. I don't feel like in the past we've had that discrepancy, but recently we have. So I don't know at budget time if we need to bump that up, but these are assessments that are paid over time, so to me, you would know what those are in any given year, so we'll be trying a little harder to get a better
Yeah.
estimate on that as we work with drains at budget time.
You think there'd be a better way to keep, stay on top of that and know what those are upcoming, correct?
Yes,
Be able to forecast those better,
yes,
so we're not having the $73,000.
yes,
adjustment?
because you don't cut 73,000 from the drain budget without cutting people
Correct.
or all of their trucks and supplies and things like that.
Correct.
So that's a big hit to general fund. It's a little upside down there, but we're covering it, right? We have to. The other thing going on here, the increase in ARPA dollars, right? We're increasing revenue, we're increasing ARPA revenue and building ARPA into this budget of 587,785. And if you look back to the sheet for ARPA, you'll see what a lot of those things are. It's that energy audit with JCI. It's the $150,000 for the AV upgrades in the Board of Commissioners room that we'll do as part of the rebuilding. It's the 36,975 that is for the wage study that we said we'd use ARPA for, and 49,410 for the trial court hearing room upgrades that we had already said we'd use ARPA for. So that's just building those ARPA dollars into the current budget and bringing in the ARPA revenue and those expenditures into current budget. Some of those projects we had budgeted last year in fiscal 23 and they didn't happen. So this is building them into 24 and basically matching what we're saying we're doing on this sheet.
Yep.
Okay. And again, that balance of 15 million is with all of these things already taken into account. Are there any questions about budget amendment? Melissa, anything you want to add to that? Thank you. Thank you for providing those. That information and updating the ARPA sheet was critical. Thank you.
I am pleased to see the budget amendments coming forward in a timely manner.
Yes.
I will move, unless there's still.
Oh, you're good. Just.
I will move the consideration of approving fiscal year 2024 budget amendment number 2024-03. First quarter budget adjustments for general fund to the work session next Tuesday.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Moving on then to discussion regarding Isabella County Sheriff's Office and Correctional Facility project funding. I have nothing right now that I bring up in discussion. I know we're having AOC meeting Thursday. I'm wondering if these two items, if we could maybe combine them and just talk about just general future budget,
Sure.
because I have a couple of items today that don't fit either one of those categories, but I think I'd like to put them on the floor for consideration.
Yes, we can combine those going forward into just a discussion of anticipated future general fund expenses. Did you get that? Yeah, that's a good idea.
I just want to mention, I did go to the contractors meeting this morning. Again, a lot of good communication. Jeff has instituted a early morning meeting with all of the foremans. First thing at 7:30 in the morning to help improve
The plan of the
communication,
day.
get a plan of the day going, improve
Nice.
communication efficiencies throughout the day. So they were all on board with that. So good.
Good.
Right now they're currently running at 75% planned completion rate. So
Okay.
it's right at where they expect to be.
Well, it's in the front of my lobe. I'm in mind. I want to mention that the AOC meeting coming up on Thursday, I have a conflict in that the City of Mount Pleasant Mission Picker DDA is at the very same time.
Mhm.
They don't always have a quorum, and I've asked them to confirm that they're going to have a quorum. But if they are, I'll have to be there at that meeting and probably arrive late. But you'll be there.
I'll be there.
Okay.
And for the tour after.
Hearing no further discussion on this item, we'll move to item 8, which is discussion regarding Isabella County Administration Building asbestos removal, cleaning, and rebuilding expenses. We don't have anything new there. I know we're still working at moving everyone into the new facility.
And hopefully we'll have internet and network there today. And then, as a priority, the departments that are out here at COA, treasurer, register of deeds, drains, those are priority offices to relocate first into the new building.
Staggered.
Yeah, it'll have to be, unless we hire a company to come in and construct desks or something like that, everybody's office is being configured and desks are being borrowed and cubicles are being constructed now by facilities. And it's up to departments to restock their office, if you will. We're trying to organize the files the best we can. Everything is kind of like an episode of hoarding in that warehouse right now. So it's a little disorganized. So we're working hard to get things organized so people can find their stuff once they are fully functional.
Did you have a date by which you'd like to try to have the
Christmas,
county building
Christmas
completely
week.
reset? That's your question, Christmas first line,
yeah.
2 weeks?
Mhm.
Well, I had mentioned I want to bring up a couple of items. And I know we potentially have a quorum here, so we have to be careful what kind of discussion we get from our guests in the audience.
Yeah. You're fine as long as they don't participate.
Okay?
Hold them back. The bait pile is very enticing up here. Hold them back.
That guy in green back there,
Okay, so, who am I blocking?
the guy in green, I'm, this Marino, I am not worried about, it's that other.
No.
I'll sit down.
And we have to have the chairman of the other two committees present. On top of it. I do have a concern, and I don't know what the discussion was at the Human Resources meeting on the proposal to modify the wages of the drain office. Willing to listen to the argument when it comes on the floor, but I'm thinking there's a new twist in this, and that is going back to, was it 3-4 years ago, making these adjustments retroactive, and that bothers me. And I will argue that on the floor. You know, if we need to make the adjustments, we've made it for other departments, and we certainly need to give a fair hearing to the argument. But we haven't gone back and adjusted that many years, and I'm not sure as we move towards a millage, that is an action we want to take. But it's just, I want to throw that on the floor, because it's probably the next thing I'm gonna get on my soapbox on.
I would encourage you to watch the Human Resources
I will.
Committee, recording.
Mhm.
Certainly the drain office feels like they were left out of the last wage
Yes, they
study
do.
and have been asking this long. And so I think that's a part of the retroactivity. Another part that's driving that is certainly the retirement of Mr. Warner at
Mhm.
December 31st. This is, if he is to receive any compensation for that retro period, this is the only time to do that, right? He'll be retiring and moving on. So that is a special consideration.
And I kind of read into that, knowing that situation, but maybe if we don't make the change, he'll stay another couple of 3 years.
Well, he's certainly devoted,
Yes.
His lifetime to this
I
county,
should know, I
Plymouth.
want to say it's 35 years.
long career.
38.
38 years, thank you. I feel probably our longest standing current, maybe Julie Willoughby was here longer than that, but she's retired. Well, she's back now. But
Mark Duffy has 40 years then, I believe.
40 years. Mm,
That's incredible.
mhm.
So it opens up a whole can of worms, and I know the argument's there. But,
Mhm.
It is there, but it's-
It is.
the other thing I wanted to mention is, we're talking about, is it standard 7 in incident defense, standard
Caseload?
7 caseload? I keep thinking about some of the arguments I hear about additional attorneys for the PA office, and if this requires additional hiring of staff for the public defender's office and the PA, it's gonna need to have more staff. I'm just wondering if we went in the right direction to have a department that covers 75% with 25% contractual, wondering if we shouldn't have a kind of review that decision. And I don't know if we can move in a different direction, like 25-75. that would take us away, because it seems like a lot of these mandates now are impacting us because we have such a large department. And if we can do it in an alternate way, are we gonna have
Interesting.
fewer of these mandates to deal with and fewer costs in the future?
Right, less of an impact.
And I'm not saying that's what we want to do. And I know you've got a full plate.
Conversation, but it's worth the conversation, right? Because I know a lot of the reason why we went 75-25 was for conflict of interest too, right? Some cases have so many defendants, if you will, that we don't have enough attorneys to cover each of those. So I know that's some of the reason why we contract out. So I think we can't go all in-house. I've often wondered, then why can't we coordinate with Midland County and their public,
Can't do it,
like,
yeah.
if there's a conflict of
grass
interest
shit.
among our, why can't, they've got them too, so why can't we do this? So I think there are some things that we can look at there, and those are the kind of conversations we should be having in the era of the millage request, right? And we need to be helping ourselves.
I didn't think about coordinating with other counties. Gratiot,
They all have.
they all have,
to do it.
Right.
and if we can help each other out. But I thought about the argument of not having enough attorneys in the contractual side. But I'm thinking as those wages has gone up, we never paid enough to encourage attorneys to come in and contract with the county.
Sure.
With the current wage structure, I think there's a lot more attorneys out there that'd be willing to do it.
And I
I
do
think
think
our-
we need to tote the special thing that we have. As local government, we have the public student loan forgiveness. You work for us for 10 years and the federal government excuses your student loan balance. You work for us for 10 years, your
There's the
student loans
incentive.
are excused. I don't know who that would mean more to, maybe a doctor, than an attorney. Right, so
Wait a
we
minute.
do have some things that entice
Hmm.
attorneys to come work for our PA and our public defender's office. I feel like we do.
That's a good point.
It just, I think it's worth looking at options. Not that I am disappointed with the operation of the department. I think they've done a good job.
Mhm.
But in terms of options, I think we always need to keep it on the table and look to see what we can do to save money.
That's our fiduciary responsibility.
Mhm.
We're obligated to do.
Keep looking at it.
Yep.
Any other items of discussion regarding future budget?
Sir.
We'll move then to the invoice list discussion. Which we have a very chunky one.
Mm.
For December 1st. $2,158,981.46. Don't wanna forget the 46 cents.
Mhm.
But of all those, the biggest portion is Clark Construction, is $1.9 million for costs related to constructional facility. Others are, again, very customary. I know there's some 2% dollars being spent
Mhm.
on the first for the AED Art Saver project. And that's repeated again with additional expense of the same company on December the 8th.
Mhm.
But other than that, I don't have any questions on any of the bills or any of the lesser bills.
I do. You're good.
On December 8th,
December 8th. No, I thought it was fine. I don't have anything marked up here.
there's nothing that,
Stinks out from me.
I did bring up a question before the meeting with Administrator Frost, dealing with the Wex Bank credit card. How do you maintain security? Purchase of gas, and what prevents an employee from taking a gas card and filling up a private vehicle? And I just remember there was a time when just before I left as Parks and Recreation Director, we had lost the county administrator and
Was it due to stress? Sorry.
and we had the undersheriff serve as interim, and he came out with a requirement that everybody log miles for county-owned vehicles.
Mhm.
But
I'm used to.
I'm just wondering if we need to take a look at that. I don't think we have, I have no reason to believe that we have abuses, but I think just good operation procedures, we don't want to leave the door open,
Eliminating.
encourage anybody.
Yeah.
Don't want to
And
encourage
the-
or.
Right, and the conversation led to, in the building, we have the capability, the way the data comes to us to look at gallons too, right? Are the gallons appropriate for each fill? Is someone getting 80 gallons?
Mhm.
At a time, or are they getting 20 gallons, right?
Mhm.
So there's some, I think there's some best practices we can put in place to do a little better in that regard, something we never considered.
I know in Clinton County, what they did is, you might have to use your credit card if you go on the road, but they had a contract with a commercial refueling company. And that company usually had refueling stations throughout the state, which you could get a map and know where they were if you were traveling. But if you were, whether it's patrol vehicles, road commission or whoever, you had to go to the one, which was real close to town in St. John's, and you fuel up there. And when you entered the data, you had to put in your mileage. So you would get a report every month on every vehicle that was fueled, the mileage and so on, and it would red flag anything that didn't seem right. And that might be a way
Stay
to
within
kinda
certain
look at it.
parameters, or you had to explain yourself.
Mhm.
And if you go on the road, you may not have one of these commercial fueling available, so then you'd have to use your credit card, but those would be far and few lesser times.
Occasional one-offs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um. Any other questions on any of the bills? All right, then we'll move these forward. We'll move these forward to the meeting next Tuesday.
Mhm.
Announcements. Oh, usually we have call the public first, right?
Usually.
Call the public, anybody?
There's no one online at this time, Mr. Chairman.
There is not,
There's not.
okay. Any other announcements? Then we'll call the meeting adjourned and we'll go on to
Our holiday.
see if I win back my bottle of Crown Royal.